Hello, this is Dennis Eckmeyer, and I'm the host of Science for Societal Progress. On a regular basis, I choose one of the 13 most popular episodes from the first 2 years and remaster the extended version that was previously only available through Patreon. These conversations are longer and pretty raw, including parts that didn't make it in the final version. If you are a patron, you've had access several months before it became public on Patreon. Thank you very much for your support. If you aren't a patron, think about it. www.patreon.com/sci4progress. This time I present the conversation I had with grad student and science communication YouTuber Maria Pinto, a marine biologist, in November 2018. Enjoy.
My name is Maria, and I'm currently a PhD student at the University of Vienna at the Microbial Oceanography group, and I work with plastic-eating bacteria.
Oh, cool. So the first question, of course, is why move into a landlocked country to become a marine biologist?
There was a sequence of events, actually. I'm from Lisbon, it's my hometown, and I did all my bachelor and my master's there. And then when I handed in my master thesis, I had to wait a couple of months for defending it. And I decided to come to Vienna for 2 months because my boyfriend is Austrian. And I didn't want to be here 2 months without doing anything. So I started working as a volunteer in the lab where I am currently working. And everything went well. And I ended up getting a contract as an assistant for 1 year. And during this year, I wrote a PhD project, which then for a scholarship that I then got, and that's how I ended up here. So it's actually a microbial oceanography group, but I did marine ecology in my master's, and the topic from my master thesis was completely different, but in the end, I really like what I'm doing now, actually. But it's still marine. We have to go on expeditions to be able to collect samples, because we are in a landlocked country.
Yeah. So where do you usually go to get your samples?
Me personally, I go a lot to the North Adriatic. In the north of Croatia, there's an institute with whom we have a cooperation. They always host us there, and we know the people and we know the boats that we can rent, so we go there a lot. But most people, I have also been to, we go on research cruises because the focus of my group is the deep ocean. So they have to collect samples from the deep. So we have to go on cruises, and this is all around the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this is not just Mediterranean.
No.
You go really on the oceans. But in the deep ocean, you also find plastic?
No, I don't work with the deep. I'm an outlier in my group. I work with microbial oceanography on plastics on the surface, because you can find plastics in the deep, but to collect it is really difficult. Really, really difficult.
Yeah. They can't just bring you some samples since they're going down there anyways?
No, you would have to be able to drag a very, very large volume of water to be able to collect enough material that I could use.
Oh,
so that's why it's difficult or if not impossible, I'm not sure, to do that at the moment.
Have you already identified plastic-eating bacteria?
It's on the process.
Okay. I know it's hard work. It'll take forever. It can take forever.
It can. So right now I have incubations, and I'm working on them and trying to work. I'm mostly working with the genes and genomics and things like that. So.
And I hear you went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
For a conference.
Yeah, that was
nice. Great. It's like my sister. She's a geographer, and their conferences are all over the world.
Mm-hmm. It's great. That's a really good perk in this field. There's conferences everywhere for this. It's pretty cool.
Alarming was that you said that in Portugal, most people have to pay for going on their field work?
Yeah. I know some people who don't have the support from their projects because the project has not so much money, and they have to put money of themselves, for instance, for housing and for transportation, because the project does not pay for that. Now, it's not the project. By project, I mean the person who is behind the project.
So the principal investigator.
The PI, exactly.
Just won't pay it.
Just won't pay it, yeah. I don't really know if it's because just the money is really not enough for, depending on the type of research you do. But sometimes if you do a lot of molecular work, for instance, you need to spend a lot of resources in lab equipment and supplies, and all these things are quite expensive. And then many times if you want to do some extra field work to collect more samples, you end up not having money, and then you have to pay it from your own pocket. But this, I don't know if it's Portugal specific. I think it's depending on how much money there is in a country for research and how much you get per project. I think it's not so much because it's just right now I only have these two countries to compare in terms of resources, so Austria and Portugal, and there's such a huge difference that things that for me were normal when I was in Portugal, now I look back and like, wow, such a difference when you have money and when you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. So I find this alarming because, so yes, there's not enough funding in Portugal. I think it's getting better. They're actually increasing the funding, and they have quite ambitious goals of where the funding should be compared to the GDP. But that also means that the students aren't paid a lot. Salaries of postdocs and students, unless they're in those private institutes where I have been, are not really great. And then they also have to pay for the trip, basically, you know. So only rich people can do that.
Exactly, especially for conferences. For instance, here in Austria and even in Germany, I know a lot of people, it's normal to go to a conference outside Europe. It's because it's most conferences in microbiology, not most, but many are in the States or sometimes in China or it's somewhere else. And for me, it's already normal to hear people saying they're going to go to these places for a conference. But in Portugal, or people I know who are doing research, no one goes further than Europe because there's just usually no funding for that, or they would have to pay it themselves. Sometimes people do pay it themselves. And so it's really a big difference. And also salary, it's an insane difference compared a PhD salary here in Portugal, and the benefits you get are completely different. Because here you have a contract as a PhD student, a normal employee contract, which in Portugal you don't, because normally it's a scholarship, so you don't pay taxes, but then you also don't get any benefits. Here you are considered an employee, so you also get all the health and social benefits. It's really, yeah. And I look back to Portugal, and it's I don't know if sad is the right word, but because it's a beautiful country, and I really think,
absolutely.
And I think
I like it here.
Yeah, you're lucky. And I would actually imagine going back, but seeing how the difference between the countries is quite, a bit shocking sometimes.
Yeah, and that also plays into this whole insecurity thing, right? You don't have proper contracts, and you don't pay into social security, maybe. I mean, you can voluntarily, but it's possible, especially for a PhD student, that it's not enough money. And if you had to pay I think it's 125 euros per month for social security, if you can't pay that, then you don't. And yeah, that's problematic, right?
Yeah, that is. I think in speaking again about Portugal, I know that a postdoc salary, as a postdoc, you have so much pressure, so many responsibilities, and you are basically a specialist in your area. And it's it's funny enough because we were talking about this today in the lab. So it's something that postdocs also think of a lot, and because you think you look at the private sector and people who know maybe 10 times less than you in a certain topic that are more general, but maybe, but they earn comparatively so much more
Yes.
than a postdoc could ever imagine, even.
Right.
And even here in Portugal, it's even a whole other dimension.
Yeah.
I think, and I think it's all over the world a bit like this. I think scientists are not known to be generally super well paid.
Well, no, that's true, especially not in the public sector. But here's the thing. So here's the story that I was told when I was young in the 90s. So teenager deciding what to do next, right? The story narrative is you go into the private sector to make a lot of money, and you go into the public sector to have a safe job. You know, you work for less, but you'll have more job security. And it turns out, no, the job security is just as bad, or worse, maybe. It depends where you are, and you don't get paid.
Yes, exactly. So what is the benefit? Passion, really, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's all that's left, right? And then you have so little. So this is actually, we are now on topic again. The part where people need to realize that there's just a few % of PhDs actually get to stay permanently in academia. So so what are the talking points that you'd like? Because I didn't know what exactly you wanted to talk about, and you suggested the topic. So I don't have questions.
I mean, I think we kind of went around and talked a bit already about the things I kind of wanted. One of them was definitely that. I'm just going through my notes here. Yeah. So one thing was also job insecurity in terms. This is interesting because for women, for instance, because I just 2-3 weeks ago went to a workshop which is kind of related, called PhD, ending a PhD, what next? It was a kind of a workshop developed by the doctoral school at our faculty, and they basically invited people from outside academia to say what they would be looking for in someone who would be applying to their company or to a NGO or something. And there was also a lady who was a coach, a scientific coach. And she was telling us stories on, even though it appears that there's equality being reached, that even in science, it is if there's someone looking at a CV and you are a woman finishing a PhD and you are between 30 and 35, they will think twice, even if it's something that people in front, so no one says it openly. She knows, because she works with people who are responsible for making decisions, that sometimes they will think twice, so that this is something that it's not as good as people think it is. And
because they think that you are starting a family,
want to have a kid. Yes, because you will have kids, and then you will not be all there for your work, and and you'll not give the whole full priority to your job. And so this still is quite a problem as well. And I know that many of my friends, but funny enough, not only girls, men as well, so not only women but men as well, think a lot about this family situation once finishing their PhD. A lot of people are considering not continuing in science because of the instability that it creates, and the fact that that will not facilitate building a family. And that maybe when you finally have a permanent position, then it's, you're already too old. A lot of people are, this is something we discuss a lot between colleagues and friends, and it's something that's kind of always present in our mind. This insecurity, it's always that, do you want to stay in science or not? We are always asking. It's like everyone asks someone who's finishing their PhD, what's next? And most people now really don't know. I think there's almost no one I really know who is finishing their PhD and who says, like, this is really, I'm going to be a scientist forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And And for instance, I know that in the past was not so much. Like in the past, if you did a PhD, you were assuming already that you were gonna stay in science, or people would assume that more or less.
Yeah, well, I mean, that depends on the field. Classmates of mine who went to study chemistry, for example, never. So that some fields are closer to industry, and you think immediately about the possibilities of going into industry. And I have several friends who did psychology or chemistry, and they never planned on going into or staying into academia. Yeah. So did you talk about the differences? I mean, what are the men and women? Do they have different problems when they think about the future? Or is it that the men also don't want to move around if there's family around? Or is it?
Usually it depends if they have a partner or not, but it's not much of a difference between men and women at least in my surroundings. I see a lot. Normally it's very dependent on whether or not they have a partner at the moment, and how the partner is going to cope also with this instability. So this is also a big thing usually that I think plays an important role in deciding whether to stay in science or not.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny enough, it does not seem to be dependent on women or men, at least here in the people I know. So it's quite, I already know people who left science who wanted to have stayed in science, mostly in Portugal, because they wanted to be able to stay in Portugal because of family or partners or whichever reason, and they just couldn't find a job. They would have had to leave the country.
Right.
So both men and women, actually.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting, because usually the classical traditional roles would be that the man doesn't give a crap, and he would just apply somewhere, and then
and she would follow.
She would have to follow, right? But that's not the case anymore, I guess.
No, I mean, I'm sure that it still happens. I'm sure that it still happens in every country, probably some more than others. But I also, I feel there's it's starting to be in this situation. Men are starting to. They put the same effort in the relationship, let's say, both, I think, from my experience of seeing it.
Yeah, well, of course, we're talking about our experiences.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I have seen a lot of couples who then reverted into basically the traditional roles. So they were actually quite progressive, but then when the necessity hit and there was the question, who gets the career and who gets to follow, it's often decided between the two that it's the guy who should have the career. On the other hand, I know at least two situations where they decided to both have a career, and it kind of worked out. And in both cases, interestingly, the woman is in the better position right now.
That's
very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the end, someone always has to if both are in such in unstable jobs, at some point, someone will have to be the first one going. And I think I think it can be the man going and the woman following is also. I mean, it's always depending on each situation, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still true. I mean, I think there's real equality, and it's not yet like 100% anywhere. I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
But that's already a whole different topic.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's scientific evidence for gender bias, in academia. There's no question there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do you have? It's so weird. I feel so unprepared, but I really, because you suggested the topic, I don't know what you wanted to talk about in detail. It's kind of funny.
My idea was to talk about like the whole insecurity, but also the fact, I think, because this is what I was saying before, that a lot of people expect that if you do a PhD, that you want to continue in science. So I've heard this from many PIs. This is then something it's not completely the same type of insecurity. It's when you finally decide, okay, maybe I don't want to stay in science, then you feel insecure that you can't do anything. So you think that you have no skills. And also you are kind of told many times that if you are doing this, then you should continue in science. And the truth is we know that's not going to happen. Not all PhDs will end up having a permanent position somewhere because there's just not enough positions for all the PhDs. But there's also the pressure. That's what you should do, that you should continue in science. And you are very much unprepared for not being in science. And a lot of people have no idea what to do once they decide, okay, I want to leave. This one workshop we had was a lot about that, was also to understand what it is that as a PhD student you have, or what you've learned during your PhD that you can apply in any other field in the private sector or in an NGO or for opening your own business. And and a lot of people really feel, I mean, I felt when I started having doubts of what I wanted, feeling why I'm doing a PhD and I'm not learning anything with this besides if I don't want to stay in science. But then, once you realize that there are certain things you learn actually besides the specific topic, once you start realizing it, you kind of feel maybe a bit better. Okay, maybe I'm not totally lost. Maybe I will have a job one day. That is, if I look for it. But I know that this is a source of insecurity for a lot of people. And I know a lot of people struggle through science because they think they have no other option. Even though I would probably not want to continue.
So in that workshop, did you have like a list? Did they hand you a list of skills that every PhD has that they're not aware of? Or did you develop it in some sort of game or stuff?
It was a very self-discovery. So let's talk. It was a whole day of it was very interesting and kind of motivating. It was really nice actually, and it was a lot we were talking for this specific workshop, we were only 15 people, so we were all talking with each other and talking about what we learn as PhD students, project management, teaching, or how to organize your time, how to deal with failure, all these things that once you've realized, you think, yeah, that's true, but you really never think that might be important somewhere else. And so we were just talking about examples where these tasks or these things that you learn throughout your PhD could be important. For instance, also how to deal with conflict, how to work in a group, how to work under pressure, which for many jobs is also important, and things like this. So it was very interesting, and it was also for us, it was also a self-reflection kind of exercise. So to think about what we learned in our specific field and what we could maybe apply somewhere else. I think it was very, very interesting. And I think even if you want to stay in science, these are good exercises to do, to be aware of your value. That was more or less the whole point, is to be aware of our value as professionals, kind of.
Yeah, I think that's a very important thing to be aware of. Actually, we also not already. This saying already sounds like it wasn't important to talk about it more, but we also mentioned that in another episode about mental health.
And, I heard.
Oh, you listened to that? Okay,
so, I listened to it.
Yeah. So, she said that that it helps her a lot to cope, knowing her self-worth, and that
definitely
things. So, and what is your impression of what it would be like for you as a marine biologist if you continue as a postdoc? What is your outlook?
So I think if I would continue as a postdoc, I guess if I would not stay for a couple more years in my lab, which is a potential possibility, not 100%, but would be in for the next 2 years, not forever. I would probably go maybe for a postdoc in the US or in Germany, because it's where the labs that have groups that I'm interested, that work with topics that I would potentially be interested in. And then it's a big question mark. Then I really don't know. But I guess for the next couple of years, I would leave Austria unless I would stay 1 more year in my lab. But I think because of contract things, I cannot stay more than 1 more year. So then I would have to leave Austria, or because it's the only one that works with marine microbial oceanography here. So I would leave to another country for at least, I guess 2 or 4 more years. And then so then I would really have no idea. Then I guess at the end of the postdoc, then I would have to decide where to go and what to continue, what to do.
Right. So, did you already gather some information about what kind of contracts you could expect if you go to the US or to Germany? Is it more common to have longer contracts or short-term contracts?
It's short-term. 2 years is the common thing. Also,
that's not enough for a study.
No, it's 2 years postdoc, 2 to 3 years. 3, but I saw, because I'm part of some mailing lists for position openings, and I saw some on postdocs, and sometimes I check just to have an idea of what's out there, and it's normally for 2 years. Yeah, in Germany and the States also the same, 2 years, 3 years maximum.
That sounds like you would have to have a clear idea what your experiments will be and what you can do in the lab before you even start, because otherwise you don't have the time to develop a full study in 2 years.
No, I think usually what happens is you come to projects that are already being developed, and you suddenly become part of it, and then you create your own project within this project if you are a new postdoc, because I think also there's a lot of possibilities to extend then your project, or to apply to a new project, and then you have more points when you apply because you say, I already did these preliminary experiments and now I want more money to continue so that I can have results. I think a lot of people end up doing postdocs for 4 or 5 years in the same place because they do these they manage to extend somehow the money in the grant and the project. But usually I think the initial plan is 2 years, and then you can try to get more funding for continuing your research. But it's a lot of, for PhD, for postdocs in the beginning of their career, I think it's the one of probably, I don't know, but it looks like for me one of probably the most stressful times, because you have to have so short period of time, and you have to show what you're worth, kind of, so that you can then apply to new grants and ultimately get permanent position somewhere. Mm-hmm. So it's that you will have to work a lot. So I'm totally aware that if I continue, that it's going to be a steep road. Yeah, very interesting, but steep.
Yeah, so I was lucky. I got, as I said before, I got these contracts that were open-ended. Yeah. Of course, the PIs could always decide to throw me out at any point, whenever they wanted. Uh-huh. But they didn't, thankfully. Yeah. I like to think that it's because of the work that I've done.
Yeah, there's probably some merit to it.
Yeah. But for example, I know that in the US, there are big differences in the kind of benefits that you get, depending on the institute that you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an idea of how benefits in the US would be for microbiologists or marine microbiologists? Because I know in Germany you have worker protection, right? You get I think.
You mean you cannot be fired?
No, I mean you get the usual state benefits.
Yes. I think it's like in Austria.
Ones.
Yes.
Yeah, but in the US that's not the case.
I'm not sure actually how for postdocs.
No, I know it's not the case.
You know. Okay. All right.
I've been in the US for 4.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. It differs from school to school, from institutes to institute, what kind of benefits you get, and what kind of healthcare, and if dental is included or not, and these kind of things.
Yeah,
that's all different at every place, and childcare is super expensive in the United States. It's crazy.
Yeah. Interesting.
But okay, so yeah. So what are your plans when you're done? Your actual plans?
I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, so this is really close to my heart right now, this topic, because definitely the job security is something that plays a big part in my decision right now in terms of, but not so much the 2-year plan, to be honest. It's more the idea that I might have to change the country I live in every 2 years, or every 3 years, or every 4 years. I'm just not sure if I want that. And it would be, I think, different if I would know that after 5-6 years, I would maybe get, okay, I can struggle through these years traveling around, but I know that afterwards I will have a permanent position. But even seeing people who are now, almost 50 and only now they're getting a permanent position, it frightens me a bit in this sense. And so I really don't know, because I really like science and I really like what I do. And even if I don't stay in science, I would like to have some connection with the environment and science somehow, because I really enjoy it. So, and I'm enjoying my PhD.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? For so long, you don't know if this will be permanent or not, right? And then, as you say, I mean, almost 50 is really late. I mean, usually people in their mid-40s say, okay, this is it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but some people keep believing.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I say almost 50, somewhere between 40 and 50. In this range.
Okay. So I would be in there because I turned 40 next week.
No, but you're not yet, because you're below. Okay, between 41. Happy birthday.
Okay. Well, that's too early.
Okay.
No, we Germans don't
next
take
week.
That.
Okay.
Yeah, next week. Okay.
But even then, if you consider, so moving, even if it's with 40 or 45 and you then get a permanent position, then you start developing your own research group until you finally have kind of your niche and everything established. It might take a while as well. And then takes time to adapt to everything new. And it's I mean, you really need to be passionate about what you do. That's, I think, really the thing. You really have to like it.
Yeah. Well, also, you must like it, and I like it very much. So, but I don't like the insecurity.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't think you like it. You must like science so much that you don't care about your daily survival.
Exactly.
I don't think that makes sense. Right?
No.
That should not be the case. You should be able to know that you can live off it.
Yeah.
And do what you like. I mean,
but the system is kind of built that way. I think that you have to. The ones who stay are the ones who love science so much that they are ready to give up a big part of their lives for it. Of course, not everyone. And a lot of people make it through with family. I mean, I know people who have family and have a good, stable position, but it's not the majority of people who try. But of course, it can happen, and it doesn't mean that everyone has to throw away all their life. There are scientists who have a personal life as well. But now I think because there are so many at the PhD level, there are so many people now doing a PhD, and the number of people who think about pursuing science as a career has increased so much that competition is, I think, growing so much that it ends up kind of being the people who give everything to science that stay, and everyone else, by their own mentality, start dropping out because they think, I don't want the hassle, I don't want this. And and there is no, it's kind of sad that a lot of people give up because of that. So yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and if you listen to the last two episodes or not the last, the episode 9 about the journal impact factor, and then the last episode where I talked with my friend about meritocracy in academia, you'll find that my personal belief is now that you need a lot of luck and maybe also the right connections.
Definitely.
On top of being passionate and willing to sacrifice a lot of your personal life.
Yes, connections, science. Definitely. I think connections are important everywhere right now. I think in science, you can do a whole podcast on how connections are important, actually. And
I could. Yeah. I don't know how much people would like that.
Yeah, but which somehow can make sense if you see it from certain perspectives, I guess. Yeah. If you know someone that you highly recommend because you know how good they are, it's I don't think it's then you can recommend this person because you know. But if it solely depends on which group you worked independently of how good you are, then maybe that might be a different problem.
Yeah. So it appears to me, at least, that once you're good enough, let's say, for a PI position, from there on, if you just look at the statistics, it's kind of random if you get the position or not.
Okay.
So I was thinking, if you get it because of connections, then at least you got in there because somebody liked you personally and they wanted you in that position. Maybe that's not too bad. But then I went back and was thinking, but wait, then you get all these biases in again,
yes.
Right? The biases against certain kinds of people, gender or where they're from, or just because you don't like the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's really hard. And so that's actually something I went to a conference about funding in Portugal this week. And one of the goals of the government in Portugal apparently is to have 50% of the 30 to 34-year-olds to have a college degree by 2030.
So
in 12 years, they want that half of everybody between 30 and 40 has a college degree.
Okay.
So you could imagine that quite a lot of those will want to become PhDs.
Yes.
So even in Portugal, you would have probably like a large surge of PhDs coming.
Yeah.
And in the US, you have the problem. So in the 90s, they greatly increased the funding for science. And what happened was that the number of professorships didn't really increase, but the numbers of PhDs and postdocs increased.
Okay.
So, and it kept increasing. And the last number, there's this very nice graph showing how many new PI positions or open PI positions are there per year and how many PhD graduates.
So one was stable and the other one...
Yes, exactly. So one was stable. It was around 5,000 open positions per year. And the curve of how many PhDs you had, new PhDs per year, was 35,000.
Wow.
And that was a couple of years ago. So even if only every other PhD wants a postdoc, and maybe half of those want to try to get a professor position, you'd still have twice as many people as positions, at least.
Yeah. Oh.
So and they're backlogging, right? Because the postdocs, they don't have so for most PhDs, it's it depends on the country, but you have so and so many years, and then they suggest that maybe you should leave now if you still haven't graduated.
Yeah.
But for postdocs, you can do that forever, basically. And as you said, you can have people who stayed postdocs for 20 years.
Yeah.
Or 15 years at least before they decide to leave. And that's pretty late in my opinion. But that just means that they are all in the pool for these positions.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have this enormous competition about this. So yeah.
Yeah,
what to do about this?
Yes, I think I'm not sure there's really a solution, because I mean, yeah, I think definitely everything relying on soft money and on grants is definitely, I don't know, a problem, but it's contributing for this feeling of postdocs of instability. Because even if I don't know if this is the whole system is built that until you get a permanent position, you have more or less to get your own projects as a PI, either being a postdoc or a professor. Many times postdocs have their own projects, so they write their projects, and but it's all reliant if they're lucky, yes. And everything is, but otherwise they are paid by the PIs, who are also they pay their postdocs, this in academia, they pay their postdocs from their projects, which they also get by funding institutions usually. So I think a big part of it comes from the fact that there's no stable income from. So it's not you're not a university employee. You're just even if you would be a postdoc forever, but you would know, okay, I get this salary and I'm a postdoc forever. It doesn't matter. And I stay here and I do my job as a postdoc. I mean, I think that would already be, I think some people would be happy with just being a postdoc forever if they could,
Some, yeah.
if they could get a stable position as such, which does not exist. A stable postdoc position, I don't think, to my knowledge, is not something that exists, like that you get it and now postdoc contract for 20 years.
Yeah, so that's called a staff researcher, and that was pretty common in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And, but it's kind of a neoliberal approach to work environments. So they kept choosing the cheaper postdoc over the fixed staff researcher. And so these positions were discontinued.
Yeah.
So now everybody is, so yeah, as you said, you're supposed to have your own research project as a postdoc, but then you're hired to do the project of your PI.
Yeah.
That he or she got money for, and then you do that, and the hope is that, on the side you develop a different project that could continue or not.
Yeah.
And then you try to get funding for that, and that's really hard to get the funding.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But what I see...
The system is kind of weird.
Yeah, the system is weird, exactly. I think blame it on the system, but it is kind of weird. But what I was gonna say is that, for instance, in my lab, there are postdocs that came to our lab because they wrote a project together with our PI or the group leader. So they wrote a project together and they won the project, but the main PI, in fact, is the postdoc. So they came of this specific project, which might include sometimes a PhD student or maybe sometimes even not. So this happens, or I've seen it happen more or less often in my group. I mean, not super much, but so that postdoc comes with a project that he or she developed together with the head of the group, and they got funding for this project. So then they are kind of free to develop their project, even though, of course, they have to still talk with the head, and he's still part of the project. But the main person responsible in the end is the postdoc. So this is so it's a different type. I think there's different types of then postdoc positions too. You might have a project in mind and suggest it to a PI, and then you can write a proposal together and you get it, and then you are kind of responsible for this project, or you apply to an open position in which you already have more or less a path set for what you should do. And I think within this project that already exists, and I think these are pretty different actually. And then luck plays in, whether or not you are lucky enough to be in a project that you actually like or not, or how
that works.
Or that works, exactly. Mostly, yeah, if it works.
Yeah, because that's the other thing, right? We have the publish or perish insecure career part.
Yeah.
Where everything that counts is how many publications do you have and where did you publish that?
Yeah.
And on top of that, you have this publication bias. I mean, you know, probably from experience, as most researchers know, that most hypotheses are wrong, right? So you do a lot of work, and the result is that you were wrong.
Yeah.
So for us personally, that's very useful because we learned something. Most reviewers and editors say, I'm not interested in that because your outcome is negative.
Yeah.
So before you have a positive outcome, you cannot publish any of that. But all of your career depends on your publications.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's also a huge problem. I mean, you can do very good work.
Yeah.
All your hypotheses were sound, but turned out to not be valid as it's. So that's the differentiation in logic. They say sound if it's coherent, logically coherent, and valid if it's also true. So yeah. Yeah, I think actually it would be cool to know these negative. I would be negative when the hypothesis is proven to not be true, because then I will know that someone has maybe already thought of this and they saw that it's not true. So yeah, I think negative results are very important, but they're never published. It's true. Yeah. I mean, there are some journals that say, okay, we allow negative results. But then it's also a lot of work to publish a negative result, because you may need to show them that the experiment didn't just not work because
of technical
you did
problem.
It wrong.
Yeah.
Right? It could have been a technical problem. You need to be very convincing to say, no, we did everything the right way.
Yeah.
And it's a conclusion that this hypothesis is wrong.
Yeah. Who's finishing the career, the main insecurities are, first of all, deciding whether or not you want to stay in science. If you want to stay in science, then dealing with the insecurity of not knowing where you will end up in some years from now. And I think that might play also a bit with mental health, but this is something else, because it increases anxiety in people, not knowing where they will be in 2 years from now. A lot of people become really anxious because of that, and even those who want to stay in science. And this is, I think, also a problem. And if you decide, okay, and I think actually it's more a problem for those who want to stay in science. Because the people who say, okay, if I don't end up in science, it's also fine, then you at least feel like it's fine even if I do another job. Then you kind of it helps you mentally to not feel this insecurity so much, I think, of, oh, where am I going to be in 2 years? But if you decide you want to stay in science, you know that you will have this, at least for the next 5 years, that you will not know where you're going to end up. And then if you decide that you don't want to stay in science, is feeling insecure about your own abilities, kind of feeling like you're useless to do anything else. I think I don't know if this might be a specific problem to biology and ecology. I don't know. Maybe if you do a PhD in chemistry or in fields where you might be able to apply more the techniques you use in the industry or other type of companies, maybe you don't feel this so much. But in ecology, we feel this a lot, I think, because we think, who is going to care in a company about the things we do? So, and there's a lot of insecurity in this sense as well.
Well, for you could say you're a part microbiologist, right?
Yes.
And that's definitely something that industries are interested in, right?
Yes.
Microbiological techniques.
Yeah. But I think if I would stay in microbiology, I would stay in science.
I see.
Yeah. But I don't know.
So that's kind of like so I'm thinking exactly the same thing. So I like neuroscience a lot. Mm-hmm. But I could not imagine doing it in an industry environment.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, first of all, most companies that do something with neuro in the title are fake, right? So they want to sell you the water that makes your brain work better or something like that, or stimulate your brain in some odd way, and it's supposed to help you learn, or I don't know. Most of that is just wacky stuff.
Okay.
And then the other part would be like psychiatric drugs and things like that, and that I have no experience with because I'm not a biochemist in any way. I have very little idea of chemistry in the brain. I only looked at electrical signals, so that's cool. A different thing. Okay. So so I stopped being a researcher in August, and now I'm free doing this. And as you saw, I get 45 euros a month.
Yeah.
Thank you, by the way. You made it 46.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So now I'm trying to figure out what I want to do next. I guess I think 6 months or so, I need to think about getting a job.
Okay. In Portugal.
And then I don't know what I would do. Maybe data science. I don't know. I am hoping that I can be independent.
Freelancer kind of.
Freelancing, exactly. Doing editing maybe.
Yeah.
For people who need help with their manuscripts.
Yeah.
Because I have some experience with that and I like it.
Oh, yeah? Okay, that's cool. I didn't know, actually, that you could do that as a freelancer. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Maybe if you are inclined to do scholarship stuff, you could think about that. Data science. That's a funny thing, I never had formal statistics. It's all, when I do statistics, it's all more gut feeling and...
Yeah.
And there's like you can look up a tree and then you go, oh, this is what my data look like. This is the test that I need. So I don't know if I would be too great with that, but I mean, these are things that you can learn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So basically personally, when somebody in your position comes to me, so I'm not giving you this advice now, right? I'm just saying this would be my advice when a friend of mine who's a PhD student would ask me, what do I do next? I don't know if I want to be a postdoc. And then my first response to that is to then not do it. Because if you don't know if you want to be a postdoc, which is so the only good reason to be a postdoc is to try to get a permanent position, is to try to become a professor. And when people start with, yeah, but I don't want to write grants all the time and things like that, and I say, yeah, just try industry first.
Yeah.
You know, end your PhD or even master students.
Yeah.
Just try out industry first and see if there's something better for you. And usually, I mean, people who make a switch, it doesn't matter really where, at what stage. So they usually find something and then find a way to be happy with it.
Yeah, because what I always hear is, I think this very dramatic statement that once you're out of science, you're out. So
That's also not true, by the way.
Yeah, but I hear this so often that I start believing it, that if you make a pause for 1 year to do something else, that then it's very difficult to get back in, because everyone's going to look at your list of publications of your last year since your PhD, and then they see there's nothing. So what have you been doing? And then they think you are not motivated enough to, so they will choose someone else. And then again comes this very competition kind of, this environment, competitive environment again, where the ones who did always dedicate themselves to will get the position. Which, I mean, it's fair enough. Which if you really have two candidates and you have, and they are, provided that they have an equal CV, you have to find somehow a way to choose one over the other. So,
right. But that again is field dependent. So I also know a couple of examples where people left academia, worked for industry in a while, and then returned to academia.
Okay.
So yeah, that can happen. I don't know how it will be in future, since the competition is rising.
Yeah.
But I know a couple of examples where that was the case.
Okay, that's good to know. And in which fields, may I ask?
So one of them was in robotics. The other one, I'm not sure, might have been genetics.
Okay.
So there are certain fields where industry experience is considered a plus if you apply with an appropriate project for an appropriate position where they want. I mean, some institutes are, for example, interested in having patents.
Yeah.
So they like when their researchers use public funding to get the institute new patents that they then privately can turn into money, hopefully.
And not the scientist, it's for the university and the institute, right?
Yeah. It's the institute's patent. If you do something, you get like 5%, 10% or something.
Yeah.
Most of it is
for
the institute. The institute owns the patent.
Yeah.
So yeah. But there are ways to get back into academia once you're out. I mean, it depends on what you did in industry, of course, right?
Yeah. I think maybe I'm thinking now, probably many of the things we also talked, like, for instance, how a postdoc, the type of postdocs who can be in a group. And I think this is probably also very group dependent, and which is also very field dependent. So I know I already noticed, for instance, differences in how groups between ecology and microbiology work, and they are both biology and both kind of environmental, but I already see that there's a very different dynamics within the group in these two fields. So I can imagine that between even fields that are completely different from this, it's much different, which is kind of interesting too.
Yeah. As I said, I wouldn't do industry stuff in neuroscience.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I was a biotechnologist, I could imagine going into industry, doing some stuff.
Biotechnology, it would be cool. I think. But pure microbiology, normally I associate that with pharmaceutical companies. I am not sure. Would depend a bit on the kind of job, I guess. If you have...
Yeah, I hear that they are looking into phage therapy, so viruses, to overcome the problem with antibiotic resistance. So instead of using antibiotics, they would be injecting phages, viruses, that are specifically lethal to the pathogen that you have.
Yeah, genetic therapy. Yeah,
that's basically synthetic biology, right? Creating these phages. And
it's really funny you say that, because a friend of mine just finished her PhD in genetics, and she got a position in a company working exactly with that in Cologne in Germany.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, Cologne. That's where I did my college degree.
Ah, yeah.
I got my college degree in Cologne. That was nice. Yeah, it's a nice city. Yeah, that's interesting, because I heard about this just a few days ago.
Okay.
I don't know. Oh, I think that was. Do you have Netflix?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So there's this series called Follow This, and
I
one
don't know.
of them talks about that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's so the series is made by BuzzFeed.
Okay. Okay, and it's good.
It's good. They follow around the journalists, and they go and talk to people about interesting things.
Okay.
So some of them are more interesting than others, but I mean,
it's entertainment.
It's entertaining, but it's also interesting topics, I thought.
Okay.
So most of them, not all of them, but most of them.
Yeah, cool. I have to check it out.
Yeah. And I listened to that just a few days ago. So it's hilarious that you say that you even know somebody who works on that.
Yeah.
On that part.
She got the job cool. just like in September. And she finished her PhD. She decided that she didn't want to continue in science. And she got it after finishing her PhD, she got this job.
Huh. Well, but she's continuing science, but in industry.
Yes. No, so she left academia, but it's still science, exactly.
Right.
Private. It's a private company.
Cool. Yeah. Is that the one that you vlogged about?
When I was in Cologne?
Yes.
Exactly.
That's her. Okay.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah, that's her, exactly.
Yeah. So what about the vlogging? Maybe we should talk a few minutes about the YouTube channel, so we have some advertisement for you in there.
Yeah, that's actually fun. So the reason why I started the channel is I wanted to do something with science communication, and I thought about starting a blog, but I'm not a very talented writer, so I thought this might not be the best thing for someone who's not good at writing. So I watched a lot of science YouTube channels before, and my boyfriend said, "Oh, just start a YouTube channel." I don't know if he was being serious, but in my mind, it stuck. And I started maybe that's not a bad idea. And I started applying for voluntary jobs here in Austria, but because my German is not that good, and I would need to talk in schools and everything, it was a bit difficult. So I just decided to just do it. Just started the channel, and it's been much more fun than I ever thought it would be. It's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. Yeah. So.
And what do you talk about on your YouTube channel? Let's act like I didn't know.
Okay, I talk about more or less my experiences as a PhD student, as a marine biologist, and I also do some scientific videos about specific topics that I think are interesting. So in science, so it's 3 things: about being a marine biologist, about being a PhD, where I vlog kind of a day in my life or a week in my life as a researcher, and also like scientific videos. And it's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, I can imagine. Cool.
So initially, my idea was to make more vlogging, because this was the whole line. It was to kind of humanize science in a way, to make science, for people to see that scientists are not all weirdos that are conspiring against humankind or something, that we have a normal life and that we do our experiments, show how science is done. But vlogging even though it's a lot of fun, it's a lot of work, and it distracts me a lot from my work because I have to think that I have to film during the day, and I don't want to be thinking about that when I'm in the lab. I have to be focused on my work. So very early on, I thought, this is not what I want to do. So I'm just going to talk about what I know instead of showing it. So that's the marine biology videos where I just talk about science, and I talk about what happens in science. But then I was not satisfied because I wanted the scientific part of it. I really wanted to share science as well and not just talk about science. And then I started the science videos, which are my favorites to do. But they take a lot of time. Because these are scripted always. I always script them. I always go through the literature, and these take. So I do them much less than all the others. So in the end, it's a big mixture of things, and I do it for fun as well. So it's a bit what I'm in the mood for in the moment. So if I would make it more professional, I would probably have a plan. But right now, I do it for whatever I feel like on the time and what's my mood.
And this concludes my conversation with Maria Pinto. I hope you liked it. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me in the podcast. Bye-bye.